and move on to another section of it. So yesterday I told you when you have numbers like 1 without a decimal place, we call this an integer. So when we have it with a decimal place, we call that a float. So when we have it with a combination of letters and numbers, we call that a complex number. So, and we can change a number from one form to another form. We can change a float to a complex number. We can also change a complex number to another type of number. So this is exactly how we do it. So we use A is equals to float X. So let's say, for example, before the number we had in X is, let's say, for example, the number we had in X is like 2. So if you have number 2 in X, when you try to change it to a float, what would happen is you say A is equals to float X. So when you try to check what type of number float X is again, it's going to tell you the float. When you try to print the X itself, it will show you the X is 2.0. So it's going to convert it from being 2, which is an integer, to be, excuse me. It's going to convert it from being 2, which is an integer, to 2.0, which is a float. So this is the main thing we need to understand here. Okay, went back to the beginning. So let me give an example. Let's say we have a number A is equals to 2. Then I say B is equals to float A. So when I print A, what would I have? I'm gonna have what? 2.0. So if before I write B, I'm sorry, if I print B, are you with me? If I print B is gonna give me what? It's gonna give me 2.0. So if I say print type A is gonna tell me int. If I say print type B, is gonna tell me what? Float. So this is exactly what I was trying to explain to you. So it's gonna tell me float. So the same way, if you want to convert from a float to an integer, so you would change, for example, let's say the B was already a float. So you would say C is equals to int B. So if you now say int B, then print what? Print C is going to give you 2 again, not 2.0, 2.0. So we can also have an integer to a complex number. So if you convert an integer to a complex number, what do you expect to see? So let's go to the Google Colab and try to see how it's gonna be. Google Colab. So let's give me 1 minute. Let me open it. Listen. All right, please, I'll share my screen now. Can you see my screen now? So now let's say, for example,
Yes, yeah, we are seeing it now.
okay, A is equals to, for example, let's say 2. A is 2. Then B, we want to cast the A. So B is equals to float. B is equals to float into A. So now A is casted. So if you say print, you say print B, now you would have two point zero. So 2.0. So now if you want to print type A, so it's gonna tell you is an integer. Then print type B. So let's print both and see. So integer and float, because you did it. So now, how do you change a number to complex? So what do? You write complex. So now let's do that and see how it's gonna change the number. So then let's say we want to, we say C is equals to complex A. So how would it be if you make it complex? So you run this, then you print C. You print C. So this is what you have. 2 plus 0j. That's a complex number, isn't it? So say it became 2 plus 0j. So print type C. So it's going to tell you it's a complex number. So do you see that? So this is this is exactly what casting is. So we would try to practice more of this casting. So now let's say, for example, we have C is this, okay? We want to cast C to be integer or to be float. Let me say D is equals to it equals to int, or let me say float of C. Then print D. So the float must be a string or real number, not complex. So it can never change it. It has to be a real number. So okay, let's try to use int for it and see if it's gonna work. The same thing. So if it's a complex number, it can only be made a complex number, but you cannot convert a complex number to either int or to either float. So this is another limitation we got to know today. So this is exactly how you continue to learn every day. So now let's continue with the work. So in this case, we can print whatever we've converted before to whatever we want to change it into. So now let's move on to the next slide. We have something called random number in Python. So what is a random number? A random number, huh?
I couldn't find anyone.
Can you mute yourself, please? So what do we call a random number? A random number is a number which is picked randomly, which is not a specific, is not a specific, doesn't have a specific format. It's just a random number. So this is what a random number is. So Python does not have a random function to make a random number. But Python has a built-in module called a random. So that can be used to make a random number. So there is, we can generate random numbers with the word random. So import the random module and display a random number. So there is something we call module, or we call it a module in Python, and in some other programming language, we call it some other names. So if you import the module called random, that is where you can print a random number. So you will now say print a random.range.r random range of 1 to 10. You say print a what? Print a random number. Print a random number, rand range 1 to 10. So let me show you what I'm saying here. So if you go to, so let's go to the, let's go to 1 minute. So if you go to the number, please, brothers, I would like to know, I know some people just joined the class, and I would explain a little bit more about what I mean with the random. In programming language, we have in R, we call it packages. In R, we call it packages, but in Python, we call them modules. So you say import a random. So this is the first stage of, you want to use a module called random. This module is the one that will help you to generate a random number. So if you don't have this module imported, we import this module because this module is already embedded in Python. So you call a module by importing it. So when you import a module, you call a module that you want to use the module by importing the module. So that's why it says import random. So after you've imported the random, then you print. So you print print random dot rand range. What do you mean by rand range? There is a range of number you want to print. So there is a range of number you want to print. So you want to print a range from 1 to 10. This is the meaning. So now when you run it, it's going to print a random number for you, 4. When you run it again, it prints another number, 6. When you run it again, it prints another number, 6. When you run it again, it prints another number 3. When you run it again, it prints another number 4. We use this to make a lot of games in Python. So we use the run because it generates a random number between 1 and 10 every time you run it. Sometimes it generates the same number, and sometimes it generates different numbers. So you can see now it is the first time I've seen 8 and 7. I've not seen 9. So it generated 9, it generated 9. Can you see? So every time you run it, it generates a new number. But the number would not exceed 1 and is not going to exceed 10. So this is how we do with a random range. As if you decide to generate a random number, let's say between 1 and 100. So that's a lot of range, isn't it? So now it's going to be able to tell you many numbers as possible. So you can see the range is now more. So this is how the random range usually behave. Can you see? Can you see? So this is exactly how it works. So there is a random range works like this. So it works like this. You see it run that way. So this is exactly. So if you also want to generate more, you can increase the range. So the meaning is, as I mentioned to you, a random is a model. So it's a model, and in R, we call it a package. So we call it a package. You say there is a package. So, and so the package is called a random. So what do you do afterwards? Then you print, what do you want to print? A random range. So you print a random range number from where you want to print from to where you want to stop. All right, if that is clear, we can move on to the next one.
Happy, sir.
Yeah.
Can we use the letters instead of numbers? And it is going?
No. If you use
No.
letters, because letters do not have a range. Letters is just A,
No.
B, C. It's not gonna print. It's not gonna. You can try it. Everything is. I told you we're in a lab where we don't break anything. So we don't break test tube. We don't break beakers. So every time you think about something, you try. So now let's say you want to print a random range of A to Z, right?
Yeah.
So let's run it.
Yeah,
So
don't work.
it's yelling already, huh?
Yeah, it's not working.
We call it number. It's understood. We said random range. So range is used for numbers. We don't use range. You know what range is in math, right? Range is a difference between the what? The highest and the lowest number, isn't it? Do we still remember math? So what is the range of a number? So the range of a number means the difference between the what? The highest and the lowest number. All right, so there's no harm in trying. That's why I said we're in a lab where we do not break anything. Whatever we try, it goes, inshallah. So now the next one is exercise. Now insert the correct syntax to convert X into a floating point number. Who can answer that? We want to change X to a floating number. So how would you write it? Yeah. Somebody.
We'll just say X equals to float, and then we include the X. So X will become 5.0.
So we say what? So we say X
X
to 5X float. Is that what you mean?
equals to 5. I can't see what you have written. Yeah, we insert float.
Float X, huh?
Yes.
So
yes,
now
sir.
when you now print X,
then we'll print X. Yes,
it's
sir.
not going to be what?
5.0.
That's great. Now exercise 2. So exercise 2 says what?
Yes, no.
X is equal to integer X int x.
Is that the correct sentence to convert x into integer? You say
Yes,
x equals to what?
int integer
Int x, huh? Okay,
then print x equals
x
to
is gonna be what?
5.
5.
Is it
Is
gonna
it
be
5
5?
or 55?
Huh?
Is it going to be 5
55.
or
It
55?
can be 5 or 55.
Are you sure?
55.
Is it gonna be 55
5, 5,
or
5,
5?
5.
Now you're bringing up an issue because there's something we call ceiling and there's something we call floor in Python. So now let's do it and let's see. I always like to do things. So let's do it again. We said we have x is equals to 5.5, isn't it? Then we
Okay.
said
I think it's 5.
s is equals to int 5.5, right? So now we want to print s. So someone said 5, someone said 55. Mind you, it was never going to move the point. It was only going to round it up. And in Python, it automatically rounds it up to the floor level. So it floors it, it doesn't seal in it. Floor means round it up to the number which you have before the decimal place, irrespective, even if it's 5.8. Even if it's 5.8. So this is an inbuilt thing in Python. It floors it. So it's only if this is exactly what happens in Swedish education. If you have 5.9 in your CGPA, it's going to round it up to 5. If you have 2.9, it's going to round it up to 2. There's no round up or round. It's going to be floored every time. So it's one of the things that make people always say Swedish education is one of the toughest and the craziest education. Even if you have 5.9, it's going to floor it. It's going to be 5. Is understood. So this is exactly how it works in Python. So we would see more examples of, we'll do more flooring and sealing after now. Now do another exercise here. Insert a syntax to convert x to a complex number. So what would you say? So you would say what? You would say complex x. All right?
Yeah.
So who can tell me what you're gonna see if you print this?
5x.
No way. If you make this a complex,
It will be 5 plus 0j.
5 plus 0j, I guess it might be like that. You cannot be sure, it's sometimes crazy, but I guess you're very close to what the answer will be like. Because it's going to put a 0 first and it's going to put a number. And most of the time, the number is going to put for you will be something like J. So let's see what we do. So let's say we have a number. Now let's say we have a number which we call 5. Say x equals to 5. U equals to complex x, right? So print U. So if you run this, 0j, do you see? So the person who said that was very correct. So this is exactly how it does. It helps you to it brings out complex numbers like this. Mind you can never change that number to integer or to float anymore. It's going to remain that way. All right, this is the end of this. So let's move on quickly to the next lesson without wasting time. I want you to try your best to make sure you practice more of the numbers So practice more of the things I've shown you. The ball is in your court. So let's talk about lists. Now we'll dive in deep into programming. We're going into list. You would see a lot of benefit from lists as one of the types of data or types of type of data we have in Python. So list is one of the most important part of types of data we have in Python. So let's say what a list is. A list are used to store multiple items in a single variable. So you can store multiple items in a single variable. Let's say, for example, lists are one of the 4 built-in data types. We have 4 types of inbuilt data types in Python. So they used to store collections of data. It's used in the clinics a lot. It's used by medical doctors. It's used by bioinformaticians and lots. So, and what do we, the other 3 are tuple. We have a set, we have a dictionary. All of these have a different qualities and usage. We're going to talk about every one of them. So, but today we want to talk about lists. Lists are created using a square bracket. That's something unique about it. So how do you create a list? Use a square bracket. So anytime you say this square bracket is a list. You can have a list of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can also have a list of name of materials. So you give the list a name. My list, for example, is equals to. If it's number, you just write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You don't put quotation. But if you want to write my list and you want to write strings in it, you have to quote it with either a single quote or a double quote. Banana, comma, cherry. So you put a single quote or a double quote. So this is how we do it. So you want to create a list. So call it this list is equals to this. Print this list. Now let's quickly go to let's quickly go and see how it looks when we don't have time. Let me just talk about it randomly. So when you create a list, you have to just call the name of the list and it's going to print the list for you. Let me show you quickly. I can always love to show what I'm talking about. Now let's call my list. For example, our limit to my list is equals to, remember, the condition is you need to use a square bracket, isn't it? So square bracket, yeah. So I want to have a list of my students here. So I will start with Omar. Sure. So the list can continue as long as possible. So if I want to call the list, I would say print what? My list. So once I say print my list, it's going to print the names out. Can you see? Then I can also have another list. I can have my list underscore 2. So I want to have in this list, I want to have numbers. So this is, can you mute, let everyone mute their mics, please. Mute yourself. Thank you very much. So this is my list too. So you want to see what's in the list? Just say print my list underscore 2. So, and run this, is going to print your list for you. So this is how we use
Sir,
it. If-
I have a quick question there, sir.
All right,
If you don't mind, that I ask while the lecture is going on.
yeah, go ahead.
Is there a way to make a range of number like we do in Excel?
Yeah,
Say, for example, I want to have a series, a number series ranging from 1 to 1,000. I cannot begin to write them myself.
yeah.
I cannot begin to type them out myself. Is there a code to generate? I'm sure there is, but I'm not sure if we have discussed it before.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
maybe
we're
I
getting
wasn't
you.
in the
Don't
class.
worry, we're getting there,
Okay.
Beethoven. It's
Okay.
easy. There is a very simple code. Just write it. We just write dot one, whatever you want to say, just write one dot and the number is gonna generate for you. You can generate 1 million
Great.
numbers. You would see how great programming is when you get to a level. So you will see how great programming is when you get to a level of learning. Then you will be so amazed that, oh my God, what have happened to me that I've not learned programming for years? What you just mentioned is one of the things you do, at least. It's very simple. Very, very simple. So I would not exceed this today. So we started late. So I would like you to go review the video and try your best to ponder over it. And I will resend the book I sent to you, Python for beginners, dummy. So that you can review those things again. If you have a question, send your question to me in the group. So we don't have time to ask questions here. So send me the questions in the group and I would respond to you. Practice more and we would meet again tomorrow. Have a nice day. Thank you very much, everybody. See you.
Jazakumullah.